award. So they gave me a Rookie of the Year. And then, and so anyway, I show up to this sales call. I didn't deserve the award. They were just trying to be nice. But anyway, I show up to this event, and, you know, that's when I kind of met all the guild people. And they're like, hey, you know, we're going to honor our top producer, but she's not with us today. She's at the hospital. She just had a baby like 30 minutes ago. And then they showed you, and you're like, you were talking to Barry. And that's when I was like, wow, that woman is crazy, focused and dedicated. Like, that's some drive right there to have a baby 30 minutes ago, accept an award. And, you know, and so ever since then, I think we met at core events. And yeah, I mean, from there, I've always kind of watched you from the side and was super inspired with how good you were on stage and all that. So awesome to be here with all the guild people. I know you have some phenomenal loan officers that work for you, and I know you give a lot back to them and help them grow, which is, you know, kind of rare in our industry right now. So I'm glad to be here. But that's anyway, how we met.
Thank you, Oleg. And guys, I want to pick on a painful experience, Oleg, because I've been talking a lot about character, drive, and skill. And that it's those three things. If anybody's going to hire us, they're looking at our character, they're looking at how driven we are, and they're looking at our skill set. And subconsciously, we're making that assessment with everybody we come across every single day. I mean, if you call customer service for any company anywhere, if you're at Starbucks, anywhere, you're trying to see, like, do I trust this person? Can they really get it done? Is what I need going to be over their head or something they can handle? And I really crave that we increase in the areas of our skills, because I just think you can never stop learning. We always got to up-level our skill. But really right now, what it comes down to, like making it or being a part of the 35% that are not going to make it, is your drive. Is that fire in your belly? Is that chip on your shoulder? Is that willingness to make one more call, to do the Oleg circus, the famous circus we're going to hear about, Oleg. So my first memory of Oleg is being at a core event with Rick Ruby, and you being the worst student in the program, according to Rick, and being brought up in front of 300-400 people and, you know, totally humiliated, embarrassed. And most people, Oleg, into that. I mean, anybody in that room would have crawled in a hole or said, fuck you, and, you know, rebelled or left or anything, but you didn't. And I just think you've got an exceptional story, not just that, but of perseverance and of drive and determination. And I just want to know, like, where does that come from? And are you still like dipping into that reservoir to stay motivated in this kind of a market?
Yeah, I mean, any form of motivation is great motivation. And, you know, some people do come up to me, which I actually hate that story. I don't know why. It takes me back to like a bad time in my life, because after that, I got audited by the IRS for, you know, and I had a bunch of tanning salons, and it was just it. But, you know, people will come up to me like, you're so lucky you got called on stage. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That was not lucky. And, you know, while some people might believe that it's the reason why, you know, I'm successful, I don't know if it has anything really to do with it, other than it was just something that happened. I've always been a big believer of, you got to know what your motivation level is and tap into it. And I think the more honest you are with what motivates and drives you, I think it's really the key for those, you know, moments where you don't want to make the call, for those moments where you do want to give up, for those moments where you you know, you want to go home and you know you didn't hit your, you know, X amount of calls that you decided to that day. Like, that's when you got to tap into your motivation level. And I think the environment that you build yourself daily has to complement that. And what I mean by that is this. So there's 5 motivation levels out there. I'll kind of blast through them. Number 1 is, you know, food, water, shelter. And you guys might have already heard this. So if I have to go over it, every time I tell it, which is, you know, here and there, it always inspires me. But food, water, shelter, it means that if you needed to get a deal today, or your kids were not going to eat, you'd have a deal today. Like, it's just your most basic survival. If that doesn't motivate you anymore, like, you're probably in the wrong industry if that's how much you hate what we do, right? But food, water, shelter is your basic. Number two is stuff. It's the, for certain people, it might be the exotic vehicles. For other people, it might be the vacations. For some, it might be the houses, the purses, the whatever. It's just stuff motivates you. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people feel like, hey, stuff motivates me, but I'm kind of embarrassed because it shouldn't. It's great. If for a while there's a car that I really wanted. And I told myself I'm only going to get it if I get in the top 200. And that was it for me. And the times where I didn't want to make the calls, I would pull it up on my screen and look at it and make calls. There's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as it gets you to do the work. Because at the end of the day, if we would be able to program ourselves like robots to execute the plan that we have in our head, we would hit all of our goals. The problem is we all have a plan. It's what separates our plan and execution. And most of the time it's us, and most of the time it's in here. And that's where, again, going back to your motivation level, it's super important. So stuff is number two. Number three is competition, healthy or unhealthy. Unhealthy competition is you have an LO in your market that stole a few deals, or your agents, or you just see them popping up and you really hope that they go out of business and something bad happens to them. And it's unhealthy. But nonetheless, it makes you make the calls. It drives you like crazy when you think about it because you want to beat him so bad. Healthy competition is, Jorge is inspiring you. He's ahead of you in stats, and you want to win. You want to beat him, but if he does well, you're happy for him. It's in the core, you and the other two students that are being coached or whatever coaching program you're in. And you have a call challenge. Yeah, at the end of the day, if you lose, you're happy for the other person too. And you genuinely are. That's healthy competition. Now, here's the thing. There was a time where I was in this unhealthy competition mode. I had a lot of LOs that I was competing with in my market. I had all of their headshots. And when I would not want to make the calls, I would pull up. It was a Word document. It wasn't even like a PDF, a Word document of a copy paste from the internet of their headshots. And I would tell myself, while you're sitting here, not wanting to make the calls, these people are calling on your agents. And it would piss me off. And it was probably not true, but it would really piss me off. And I would just start making calls. If you could tap into that, that is very, 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 very powerful. Now, it was unhealthy, but it did the job. So now I don't care about that. But at that moment, it was a big deal for me. And a lot of those people, some of them already went out of business. Some of them met and we've become friends. But in that moment, that's what it was. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's unhealthy competition versus the healthy competition. And here's the thing, if competition drives you, where at the end of the day, you know that you being in little competitions with people really pushes you, you should do as many call challenges as you can.
Yeah.
In fact, the watch that I'm wearing right now, an agent bought me this watch after me and him did a greatness track competition. Who could talk to the most people in a week? It's a $10,000 watch, one of my best agents. I beat him. We had to prove the results. But I think that week I made over 500 calls, talk tos, and he did 470, and we're both sitting there at an Applebee's and we all have our proof great. And we're you show yours. No, you show your. The point is I would have never made those calls. And so if competition is what it is for you, you guys should team up with as many people as you can and have as many competitions as you can, have fun with it. Because at the end of the day, even though he ended up buying me the watch, he probably made $100 grand off those calls. We both won together, right? And there was other times that he won and all that. So the point is that's where the competition, when I say surround yourself and put yourself in that environment, is your environment should complement your motivation level. Okay. Now, I'm not a believer in buy the car you can't afford because it motivates you. Once you have it, you realize it's not that special and it doesn't matter. It's you got to have the carrot in front of you if that's what your drive is. Number 4 is financial freedom. You might have the stuff, you might not, you might care about it, you might not, you might have been in all the competitions and all that, and you just realize at the end of the day, I'm just really, really every day I show up, I do the work, all that. And what really motivates me now is not competing with people. I've got the awards and all that and the plaques and the rankings and whatever. What really drives me now is knowing whether that's a dollar figure in the bank or cash flow. And everybody argues, it doesn't matter. If you want to have 100 rentals that pay you X amount per year and that drives you and excites you, do that. If you want to have the fat bank account and that excites you, do that. Like, there's no win, it just depends what excites you. And but it's financial freedom. It's you sitting there saying, one day I want to be able to get up, walk out of here and not have to ever come back. And that really drives you and that fires you up. And if that's it for you, then create your plan. Know how many rentals you need to have. Know what that dollar figure is. Know how many deals I need to close to get X per, month, and eventually you'll hit that. Once you hit that, you might decide, hey, I actually love the business. I don't want to walk away. This business is super exciting. I built it to something I never thought. I'm having more fun than ever, but I love the idea that I can, and use that to drive and motivate you. I remember, I don't know if you guys, some of you might know Lizzie, some of you might not, but she had a dollar figure and she's like, as soon as this happens, I hate this business, I'm out.
Yes.
And she got it. And I'm like, hey, so when are you leaving? And she's like, oh my gosh, my team is so much bigger now. So I'm having so much fun. I don't want to leave. But, that number drove her to get to a certain point. So the point is use that, right? And she knew how much she needed per month and how much per year and how many closings and her budget and all that, right? So don't just say my financial freedom is my motivation level. If it's just that, it's not going to drive you. You got to break it down and apply it to work. You got to put yourself in that environment. You got to know your numbers. Number 5 is legacy. And that's like, what I imagine Shayla, where your success is more exciting to her than her own. Like when, she might see, Jorge close 50 units in a month, knowing that, and I only, mentioned Jorge because I know the story. She hated LO. She didn't want any LOs, and Jorge was the first one. And seeing how, how she's helped him grow. I mean, that's where it's about legacy. That's when you're in coaching. That's, when you meet a branch manager where legacy is their motivation level versus financial freedom, you stick with that person forever because they're more excited about you and they're more passionate about your growth because it truly drives them. Now, I never understood that because I've been the narcissistic LO that just all I wanted to do was break records. And, which, by the way, I at one point, this is how motivated I was to like crush my competitors. A healthy or unhealthy. Once I found out all Shayla's numbers, max units per month, volume per month, and I had it written down on my wall. And every time I'd do it, I'd beat it, I'd scratch it off, and it'd be the next one in a healthy way. It wasn't like I want anything bad on it, but I just was like, Shayla is like my idol. I'm gonna write these down, and as I pass every one of her, she hit this by this age, I'm gonna do it faster, and it just drove me. My point is eventually you get past that, and I feel like I'm close to that, level where it's now like I'm excited about loan officers succeeding more. I am about like one of my LOs that I'm coaching set 17 appointments with new agents yesterday, and I was like psyched for him. Where
amazing.
Before I was like, good job, I really don't care, next for me, right? And it is something that you do progress, and I know that that's where Shayla is in her life right now. And so all I'm saying is that like that legacy side, which sometimes if we're in the stuff phase, which we can't understand, that eventually you will, like eventually you'll realize the stuff isn't that important. But if it is important for you right now, great, like surround yourself with it, have it push you. And there is a 6th level that I did come up with. Somebody came up with this whole 5 levels. It wasn't me. It's in some book and I've heard it over and over. And so, but I always knew that there was a 6th one, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what it was. And then a couple of years ago, I got it. And I remember, bringing it up on stage, and everybody's like, oh my God, that's you're right. It's called the GOAT level. Okay. And that's when you want to be the greatest of all time. Now, that's the, the Jordans of the world, the LeBron James, the athletes that are like, I could care less about the people around you. I want to be the best ever. And I think that exists in the mortgage world too. Not to say that, you have to be the best ever, which means you're number one in the country over and over. But like, you could be the best ever at landing agents than anybody else. You could have the best cap business of anyone. Like, you truly want to beat yourself year over year over year. You don't really care to pour into LOs. You really don't care to build that out, but you just want the best ever. Like, you want people to be like, that's the best ever, period. And your real competition is then you, Dave. It's how do I beat myself? And if that drives you, which I feel like that's the most rarest level, and probably why whoever created that never had that on there, because very few people understand that. But I feel like that is a true level. And if that's that, then you're constantly like looking at where could I improve? It's like that 1% rule. Where can I get 1% better in my team, in my business, in myself? And that's when it gets super crazy, where it's like, everything I eat impacts me. So now my diet's cleaner because it makes me a better salesperson. I go to sleep at this time because I convert better. Like, that's when it gets really, really like, here's a microscope on everything, because you're so hyper focused on the leads, conversion, deals, everything your team members say has to be said this way because you truly believe it. So again, that's like the crazy level. I'm not saying you guys should go there, but it does exist for, somebody might 5 years from now hit that and think they're crazy, and they might realize, oh, Oleg talked about this. I'm just on this motivation level, and it's not. It's normal. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, Oleg, that was so beautiful, because I think regardless of the story we started out with, what you've built in your 17-year career is undisputable. And that's Jorge's word for the year, is being undisputable. And that's what you've done. And year after year after year after year. So, I pieced it together. We've known each other about 8 years now. We've coached side by side. We've worked side by side. I didn't know that I was on your enemy, your wall. But
that was a healthy motivation list. You were on.
I had people on my wall. I mean, it was about beat Josh Sigmund, and it was a big thing on the wall. And it's about picking people that you really, really admire. Absolutely. That you go, wow, like it would, like, I can't even think about beating that person. But you know what? You put in the work, you have your head down, and you do it. Guys, Oleg was number one in the core training for production and income this year in 2022. Oleg closed over 500, exact number, 526 units, not in 2021, in 2022. You had many months where you were over 50 closings. And I think even in the slowest months, I pulled you up on MMI. I like to share MMI, Oleg. I don't know if you play in here, but what blew me away, Oleg, was, looking at your consistent growth from 18 to 19 to 20, like you grew in purchase and stayed consistent in purchase when everybody else was obviously doing the refi thing, which you did too. But what I really want to talk a lot about, spend a lot of time is agents, because, we teach in the core that the goal is to build accounts. People are doing 4 or more units with us. And what I notice is you've got a lot of people that are referring you consistently over and over again. And I know these aren't always accurate, but look at all these other people that referred you only just once in 2022. And it's a huge, huge number. And I think, when we get back to that, it's all about relationships and adding value. I'd love to know for you, how do you think about that? How do you do relationships, adding value? And what are you doing today to continue to grow that?
Yeah. And what's it called? It's definitely, 2022 was kind of when you look at 2022 versus 21 and 20, the one thing I want to just throw out there, because a lot of people are, questioning themselves right now. In 2020 and 2021, you were not as good as the numbers reflected. Like, let's just face it. Like, when rates were in their 2s and you couldn't get call back people fast enough, that wasn't skill. At the same time too, now in 2020, in 2022, you guys are not as bad as you think you are. Like, you really are not. You can't control the fact that people buying a home right now for a first time home buyer is like the worst it's ever been. You got the highest, like payments are like $6,000 a month. I've never like $6,000 a month for your typical, like that's insane. So all I'm saying is you guys are not as bad as your numbers reflect. Like, don't beat yourselves up for the bad month or two that you had. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. You didn't just wake up one day and become a bad at love. Like, you didn't just wake up one day at the wrong company. Like, it's just like everybody's feeling it. The funniest part is that everybody thinks somebody else is doing it right. So I had a couple people that are like big on social media call me, and right before they called me and we talked, I was thinking, oh my God, I got to go on social media because this call thing ain't working. And they call me up and they're like, we got to get off social media because this social media thing ain't working. And like, we're both thinking the other person has it right. Like right now, it's like we all in this industry got punched in the face and everybody's kind of stunned and they're not knowing. I think in this environment, you got to get back to like, you know, come up with your plan, whatever it is. Don't look elsewhere. Don't be the squirrel, like, or have the squirrel mentality and just go, because it will come back. And when it comes back, like the people that are consistent, it's going to come back faster for you. If you start changing everything you're doing, it's going to be really, really, really difficult to come back. Like it will. A lot of people are going to ruin their careers because they aborted their strategy and started something new.
I agree.
Like it just, that's the fact, because you're not like, there's, unless you have an unlimited amount of money and you could spend years on, you know, making no income and all that. But my point is like your referral partners, don't just abandon them because you didn't get leads from them. You know, it's not you, it's like they don't have deals. Like a lot of referral partners right now, like I talked to some of my best referral partners in December, and one person I was consistently closing loans with was like, hey man, like our last closing we had was my last deal. And here I am thinking, wow, you know, like that was his last deal. Like they're struggling too. This year, you're going to have agents that are going to be hit super, super hard, which is obviously going to make it more difficult for us. So going to agent strategy, guys, here's the one thing that I'll tell you that I feel that I do a pretty good job of. It's like I'm fine with having agents that I close one deal with every 2 years that are just in the background that I'm marketing to them. And so a lot of people, they have this mindset of like, here are my top 40, everything above that, you know, you're off my list. I'll never take your call. I hate you. Go to hell. And my whole mindset is like, if you could be on a level with as many agents as possible, be on some level. Okay. You're going to have some that are going to use you all the time. Don't fake relationships. I'm not a fan of faking relationships. If you like somebody, you like them. If you don't pretend you like them just because you want to get their business, right? But the point is if you could be on a level, and I'll cover the different levels of agent relationships here shortly, but if you could be on a level with as many agents as possible, some you call, some that just get your videos, your automated, you know, a marketing that you do, which should seem real, but it's not. And as long as they think about you as a lender that they work with. The key is a lender that you work with. That's really the formula to always have consistent purchase leads coming in, because let's face it, like in this market where leads will be down, if all you're doing is chasing 40, it's going to be tough some months. Now, if you're not even getting 40, you should get your 40 quick. If you're one of those people that dumped a bunch of their realtors because you're like, oh, that person, I saw them, they sent Jorge a deal and they don't, I can't believe it. We had such a good meeting. Like if that's your mindset, and you're only thinking one of the levels, which is primary, like it's going to be really, really hard for you to scale. Okay, so let's talk about that. Levels of agent relationships. The one that most people in the core see, or not in the core, in the whole world, in our LO world, see is primary. Primary means they work with you only, you're their person, you feel like, and if another LO comes up, you feel like they're cheating on you. That's what a primary level relationship looks like. Now, most people, when they get in front of a new new realtor, they go for primary, and that's all they do. They shoot for primary. They hope the person doesn't have somebody that they're working with already, or they hope that person sucks, and they hope they could swoop in, get primary right away, and be their only person. My approach, and I found this on early on in my core career, is that that's kind of not possible. Like, meaning, like, let's face it, it's like you met somebody, this is a bad analogy, but let's say you're in the dating world. You met somebody that already has, a boyfriend, and you're like, hey, but I want to be your boyfriend. Like, what do you mean? Well, tell me what's wrong with your boy, versus like you come in as a friend. Hey, that's great that you have a boyfriend, but here's, I don't even want to date you, but here's, how we could hang out. We could talk. The point is you're in. Like, that's all you want to do is just get on a level with them, right? It's the same thing in business, which, by the way, guys, what we're doing technically when we're going after agents is dating in some fashion, right? You want them to like you. You want them to think about you when they have buyers. Like, you want them to, so it's no different. You're trying to plant the seed. You're trying to get on a level. So number one is primary. Now, primary, in my opinion, is earned if you do one of the other three levels properly. Now, whether you believe that or not, you might have not even known it, but your best primary relationships that you're in right now, you didn't start as their primary. You started as another one, and you just outperformed the other person, and you became the primary, but the whole time you thought you were their primary, and that's not true. So the second level is called business level. Now, the business level is one where you guys are doing something together to generate business. It could be from a range of you guys buy online leads together. It could be you guys work open houses together. It could be that you guys throw a first-time homebuyer class together. It could be that you guys are coaching them on, like I do. I have a lot of agents that I coach on the Greatness Tracker, and like I have my parameters. You guys all know what the Greatness Tracker is, right?
Oh yeah.
Cool. So it could be that it's somebody that you're coaching on the Greatness Tracker, and you're holding them accountable. It's generating business, right? The point is you guys are doing something together that generates business. Okay, that's the business level. Okay, now let me give you an example of the business level that turns primary. So I meet this newer agent. He's in the business for like 2 years. I get him on the Greatness Tracker. Now his brother's in LA, so obviously I have no chance, right? Well, I don't even think about that. Let's go straight to the. We're doing Greatness Tracker. Like, I'm seeing the leads, he's picking up the deals, he's telling me how great it is and everything else. And then we have a conversation where I'm like, hey, listen, man, I like you a lot, and I'd love to continue doing this for you, but I only have so much capacity of people I could coach on the Greatness Tracker, which is true. And I know your brother is a lender, and I've saved a couple deals for you, but at the end of the day, like, if you want this to continue, like, I'm gonna need a minimum of one closing every 6 months, like closing, not lead. Otherwise, like, I can't do this anymore. And the guy's like, oh my gosh, hey, this is so valuable. My brother has never done anything. He doesn't do anything for me, but you're right. I'll definitely get you one. Well, 6 months later, there is the next conversation isn't one, I want it all. If I'm going to continue adding value, I want all your business. Your brother could be your backup lender, right? And it's not in a weird, crazy way, but it's kind of like, hey, listen, I'd love to continue this, but like, I got other people I got to coach. So if you want to continue, my team's obviously amazing. Like, I got to get all your buyers. I know it's a tough decision for you. Your brother could be your backup. You let me know. Think about it. I don't want an answer today. Tell me tomorrow. And now I'm getting all his business. I came in on the business side. Now, if I came in expecting to be his primary, that would have never gone anywhere. That took a year to develop, right? And I had to put time into it. Now, let's just say it wasn't the Greatness Tracker, right? Or okay, I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. Level number 3. Okay, so we talk primary. That's where we all want to be on with everybody. But we talked about the business level. Level number 3 is backup level. Now, backup level, most people think of backup level as save a deal. If you have a deal that goes bad, you're the backup person, right? Now, In addition to that, I take backup level as second opinion. Okay, so if you're in front of an agent and you want to get on the backup level with them, it's not just, hey, I could save all your deals and we have A, B, and C, and we have pre-approval managers that are ex-underwriters and we're masters at calculating income. All the same stuff that you guys say anyway, by the way, which is why you have to be really, really, really good at what you do, because you have to make sure that they feel when they meet you, that they feel that you're a master loan technician. If they don't feel that way and they just think you're a salesperson, like, you ain't going to get far in the mortgages industry. They got to know, like, Shayla knows mortgage. Like, she knows her stuff. If I give her, like, I'm confident that she's going to, like, high mortgage IQ. They have to feel that you have a high mortgage IQ. Okay. So if they feel that you have a high mortgage IQ, they have a primary lender they love. It's like, hey, listen, next time you run into a scenario where, you know, the deal falls apart in escrow, like a lot of people use me as a backup, right? Use me as the backup. We have our own in-house underwriters. We control things start to finish. We get deals done in 10 days, you know, so next time you run into that, like, let me be your backup. Like, I know that you have a great relationship with Jorge, and I don't want to get in with that. Like, Jorge's paying 15 grand a month for your Zillow leads. He should get all your business. However, whenever you have a scenario like this, everybody has their backup lender. I'd love to be that backup for you. Now, in addition to that, I want to let you know that, you know, hey, Mr. or Miss Realtor, have you ever run into a scenario where your client's pre-approved for 500, but they really need 550? Yes. Well, hey, we are like the second opinion lender to a ton of agents. Why? Because we got ex-underwriters that are pre-approval managers, and we know how to push income. We understand self-employed borrower scenarios. We understand how to calculate it. We're going to make sure we on average are able to get clients between $30,000 to $75,000 more than their, you know, lender they're working with. Like, maybe you have somebody that comes in from a big bank. They lowball pre-approvals all the time, or they completely screw up. Let us be that second opinion lender to you, right? Like, get that's what backup means. So, like, there's somebody else, they need a second opinion. But like yesterday, for example, I got a lead from an agent where I'm her backup lender. She works at a what's called real estate office, where the owner is also a mortgage broker, and they have a deal worked out where there's commissions being split. Well, the client just closed a primary refi, and apparently they have a rule in their brokerage, even though he's selling his primary home to buy, he cannot work with him for another year. I don't know. I don't care. The point is, she called me and said, hey, you're my backup guy. And I'm like, hey, great. Tell me about the guy. The guy is like super qualified, W-2, has a home in mind, ready to go. We pretty much got everything done within a matter of an hour, because I was backup position. I was clear I was backup position. She knows it, and I know it, and I respect the primary lender, right? Yeah. Just giving you guys examples. Now, here's where most people mess up, because I coach certain people and they're like, oh, I hate that position. All I get is crappy leads. All I get is, and I'm like, okay, well, tell me more. Tell me how it looks like when somebody calls you and says, I have a bad scenario. And I role play with it. And most of the time, you know how they answer? Oh, yeah, no, I can't believe that other lender, that they don't know what they're doing. Get it over. We'll get it done fast. No problem. That's their answer, right? Like, that's how it goes. And the whole time, are we still going to go, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. We got it. So in that realtor's mind, they're like, I send my deals to Wells Fargo because they have really good rates. And then anything else, Oleg is so amazing. He loves them. I'm going to give him all my crap. And in their mind, like, a realtor doesn't know any different. In their mind, they're like, that's who I'm going to use, because they love it. And that's it. So when an agent calls me with a backup deal, a SABA deal, here's how my conversation goes. Hey, tell me more. Oh my gosh. Okay, that sounds really complex. All right, what else? Okay, wow. Okay, that's going to be tough. Well, we have to get everything from the borrower. Let me get everything. Let me look at it. I don't want to make any promises till I get it. Your borrower has to be super on it. We need this now. We get the stuff. I call him up. I say, listen, Shayla, I gotta tell you, I could see why the other lender could do this. This is a miracle file. Even if it's easy, it's a miracle file. I'm gonna have to convince my underwriter. Like, I'm gonna have to first off put this one in the front of the line, because your closing date is super tight. I'm gonna have to, like, sign off on this personally. I'm gonna have to convince. I have to work behind the scenes with my company. Listen, Shayla, I'm willing to do this for you, but I gotta tell you, I'll only do this if I could get your next 2 clean deals. If you're committed to your next 2, then I'll do it for you. If you're not, hey, no worries. Like, I'm not going to make money on this deal anyway. Like, I get it. Like, if we can't do this, we can't do. You know what they say all the time? Oh my gosh, if you could do this, absolutely, you'll get my next 2. Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
We get underwriting approval. I call Shayla. Oh my God, I can't even tell you. That was freaking rough. I knew it was going to be rough. I just want to let you know. I can't tell you how relieved I am. I didn't sleep last night. I'm so happy we got this underwriting approval done. I can't, like, we're still not out of the woods. We still got to get conditions. Your borrower's got to be on it. I can't wait for your next 2 clean deals, by the way. I'm going to hold you to that. We're going to keep working on it. I don't want him until we close it, though. I don't want it until we close it, Shayla. I just want to let you know that. I got to earn it. What's up, Jorge?
What if the deal doesn't work?
Well, then you didn't earn the deal, so who cares? If I didn't earn it, I didn't earn it. I don't want it.
You're saying the 2 other deals you don't earn.
Yeah, dude, I didn't earn it. So who cares? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, it's, hey, we tried. Like, we all fought the good fight. Most of the times it does work. But if it doesn't work, it's, we fought the good fight. There's no way around it. I tried. I did everything possible. We knew it was going to be tough from the beginning. I didn't guarantee and promise anything. The problem is when you say, no problem, that other lender is an idiot. That's when you have an issue and it doesn't close. I don't put myself in that position. Docs go out. I call them up. I'm like, we got to go celebrate. Let's go grab lunch. I'm so excited. I can't tell you how happy I am. Docs went out on this deal. Like, this was a tough one. Like, took all my team's effort to get this one done for you. Let's go celebrate. And now I'm like, hey, what are the next 2 that we got to work on for you? Just remember, you got me on those. Like, we got you. You got to get me. And that's how I do it. Now, sometimes do I not get the deals? Yeah, of course. But I can't even tell you how many people I started as their backup save a deal and turned into primary, because guess what happened when they're 2 clean deals? Clients are super happy. Docs were out super early. And then I call and say, hey, Shannon, don't you want all your deals to go like this? Like, right? The point is you start with the other level and you gain primary. Okay. And the last one is program. The program level is the level where you have a certain niche or however the hell you say that. You have something that you're one time I said niche and somebody kept trying to correct me. And I'm like, dude, who cares? You got the point. So the point is that you have something. Now, you don't want to be the person that specializes in first-time home buyers, manufactured homes, condos. Pick 1, maybe 2, okay? And be like, for us, it's self-employed borrowers. Like, we specialize in self-employed. That's what we want to be known for. If I were to redo it again, I would have been the VA specialist. I would have been the VA, the rules, the guidelines, how easy it is, the no ratios. Like, all I would talk about is how I own the VA market, and that's my thing. That's what I walk, eat, sleep VA. That's all I would talk about. Like, if I was going to do it again, I'm just too far into the self-employed market. So the point is that when you're in front of the agent and they're like, oh, I already have so-and-so, I have a backup person. You're like, well, hey, listen, here's what we specialize in as a team. And you are excited, you're pumped, like all about it and about how great VA is and how lenders don't understand us and how many times you see this where they walk away and they're like, that's my VA person. Like, that's who I should. Next time I run into a vet, they're going to Shayla. Like, sure, Oleg does him. He never talks, like, they're going to Shayla. Same thing with first-time home buyers. Like, we all have the same first-time home buyer programs. The only difference is how we talk about them.
Yeah.
Like, this one guy is like, hey, do you have first-time home buyer programs? I'm like, yeah. He's like, which ones? I'm like, the same ones as you. And he's like, well, how do you answer an agent when they say this? And I was like, this is how you answer. And he's like, wow, that sounded really good. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I was passionate about how I was saying it. How do you say it? I say, we have them. Great. Like, so my point is pick something. It's not like you're going to be selling something that somebody else isn't. We're all selling the same loan. It's just be so passionate that the agent doesn't know it. They're like, wow, that's going to be my first-time home buyer person. Anytime I have a first-time home buyer, they're going to be going to so-and-so from now on because they know that. That's what, and because of that, now they've established you as one of their agents. or you're one of their lenders. Now, here's the beauty about it. Okay. So you get in front of an agent. The key is get to one of the levels. I never go for primary, ever, 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 ever. How many times have we gone for primary and we were told, hey, Shayla, you know what? I'm going to use you for everything. You're so great. You could actually close loans on time. You could, wow, you're going to call my borrowers back. Oh my, I've never heard that before. You're my primary. And they get out of that meeting and you're just like, I killed it. And you're pumped. And the rest of the day you did nothing because you killed it. And you never get a lead from them, right?
Yeah.
What really they gave you was just a dirty yes. They were like, you started and you were excited about how you close loans on time. And they're like, oh, this again. And they nodded and they're like, wait for the close. You got to use me for everything. They're like, oh, we will. And then we all had that. I had that many times where I sat there thinking, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. You got the dirty yes because you sold the same thing everybody else sold. So I never go into that. That primary is earned. Primary is earned through one of the other three levels. So you got to master those other three levels. When you're in front of somebody, depending on who they are, if I'm in front of an agent and they're telling me like, oh, I've been doing real estate for 30 years. I don't do anything for prospecting. My clients call me. I'm not talking business. We're not talking business level. There's no way I would ever go there because what's the point? They don't care. I'm talking backup and I'm talking program. Tell me more about your clients. What kind of clients do you have? This is like, tell me, you're going deeper into what's called the type of it. I'm always trying to gauge who are they as an agent. If I meet somebody and they're telling me about lead generation systems and all that, this, I talk about only the business level. There's no point to me telling them how great I am at self-employed borrowers. They're fired up about generating business. That's all we're talking about. And then I always want to leave with, I'm doing something with them together, right? So they're fired up about like attacking a certain market with some kind of ads. And I feel like, and they're worthy. I'm like, hey, listen, what if we did this together? What are your thoughts? Imagine if we did this and you want to plant the seeds. Imagine how big we can make this, right? Like people buy based on emotions. If you can't tap into their emotions during your meeting with them, like you are just a robotic salesperson. Like, and you'll still sell. Your conversion of lead from meeting to lead is just going to be way lower. But if you go on enough meetings, you'll get leads. Like I want to go on a meeting and get a lead. That's my goal. Every meeting I get a lead. Is it happen every time? No, but that's my goal going into it. So is my phone on ringing? No, it's always turned upside down. Am I super engaged with them? Absolutely. And in my mind, am I scanning what level am I going to go? And absolutely. Do I want them to talk about their lender? Yes, I do want them to talk about their lender. I want to acknowledge that. And I love to say, hey, I love that about your lender. I'm not trying to replace that. Because the problem when you come in and they do kind of like their lender and you're trying to replace that, it's the same thing as I got a boyfriend and you're trying to be my boyfriend. I don't even know you. It's like guards up, defenses up. You got no chance. Don't even go there. And then they get all defensive. My lender is yes, of course he responds on the weekends. Like don't bash the other lender. Like don't go there. Like it just doesn't go well, right? Like it just doesn't. Yeah. So anyway, one of the four levels. Now, the beauty of it all is if they establish you as one of their lenders, which I always tell them, hey, realtors work with multiple lenders all the time. Like you like everybody does. Every top producer has a handful of lenders they work with. Like everybody has their backup guy. Like their back, you got to have your backup person. You got to have this, right? The beauty of it is once in their mind, they establish you as one of them. You got permission from them, not verbally, but just you got unspoken, unwritten permission to call on them moving forward where you have their attention. Then at that stage, if you have a great call strategy, now all of a sudden it's about programming. If you could then program them that you're going to be the one that's going to get them paid, a higher chance of getting them paid moving forward, they're going to work with you. A lot of people think it's about rates. It's not about rates. I think agents care what rates your clients get The only reason why they care is when the client says, oh my God, that rate is so high. I can't believe you referred me. And they're thinking, shoot, the client's going to leave me. That's when they care about rates. They could care less what rate the client gets. They want to make sure they get paid. So when they refer somebody, they refer based on, like, you got to picture it. I'm an agent sitting here, and in my mind, I got 5 lenders around me. And I'm thinking, who do I refer? It's in their mind, whether they're, thinking it or not, they're analyzing who's going to give me the highest chance of getting paid. If I know that Oleg, this client's a little sketchy, and Oleg has the best follow-up systems and he's all over it, I'm going to give him to Oleg because I know they're going to follow up on him. And Shayla, my perfect, best rate lender, barely calls clients back. I ain't going to give it to her. She's probably not even going to know about it. Yeah. That, again, whether you believe this or not, they're deciding on this. Same thing. They run into a file and the client tells them something complex. Now you're the backup lender, but they're like, oh, well, we're concerned about, a tax debt that we owe money on. They're thinking, I ain't giving them to Wells Fargo, like tax debt. Like, I'm giving him to Oleg right away because he's my backup. The point that I'm trying to make is you want to be on a level, because as they're deciding who to refer, as they're deciding, you have a chance. As long as you consistently program them moving forward, stay in front of them. And your call strategy and everything else is all about properly programming, giving them valuable information, and staying in front of it, not in a spammer way. I'm not a fan of being a spammer. Like, a lot of people think it's all about spamming the agents. It's not. But you got to stay in front of them better than anybody else, and you got to program them properly. So
okay, Oleg, let's talk about your Monday call, because this is another thing you're famous for. By the way, you're absolutely killing it. And this is like the funnest interview for me, because I get to write just tons of notes and just be in learning mode. So thank you, Oleg, for having these things so thought through, and how many people you've changed lives with these tactics. Guys, I'm telling you that, like, Oleg is working. He's everything he's saying, he's doing. He's 100% in integrity with everything he's saying. He's doing exactly. He does a 4 o'clock lead sweep call. He does call at those milestones and makes the sales call, right? So let's talk about Monday calls, Oleg, because whether you've got a 40 list, or you've only got 10 people on your list, or you have, maybe 200 agents that you're programming to, what are you calling and saying every Monday? How do you work that?
So this is where my account executive call strategy comes in. And so every call goes into one of 4 blocks. Okay. So if you take a sheet of paper, write a line down the middle, and line across it, so you have exactly 4 blocks. On the top left block, write leads. Yep, write leads. On the bottom left, write pre-approvals. On the top right box, write Goto Conversation. Okay. Under Goto Conversation, you want to write industry news, rate updates, guideline changes, sales tactics, marketing. It's the conversation that you go to when you have nothing to talk about. Okay. So it's your go-to conversation. I don't know if I said underwriting guideline, like underwriting guideline change. I always like to talk about different changes that are happening. And it's because I want them to I want to program them that, like, Oleg's always on it. He's always first to it. He's always studying it, So that's what the go-to conversation is. Bottom right box, I write invite. Under invite, it's happy hour, breakfast, lunch, dinner, event. Like event meaning like a mastermind call like this, and so forth. It's an invite. And so as I call, I want to stay on the left-hand side. If I could talk to them about leads or pre-approvals, and that's all I talk to them about, that's amazing. Like, that's where we're talking about how do we get somebody under contract? How do we, what do we need to do to, that's where I want to live, leads and pre-approvals. If I don't have any leads or pre-approvals, talk to them about, which, by the way, when I say leads or pre-approvals, there is no like, they expire after certain, if they gave me a lead 2 years ago, I could talk about that lead, talk about how many times we followed up, because I want to program them that we don't give up on their leads forever, right? Like if I could program them that, then they're going to be like, Oleg doesn't give up on my leads. He doesn't give up on leads. He's like on it. Like he's more organized with my leads than I am. You want them to feel that. Okay. Now you might have not been able to get a hold of that lead forever, but the point is you've attempted. So you talk about that. Like agents don't know how great you are if you don't tell them what you do. Right. Yeah. So I use all these opportunities to tell them what we did. Now, pre-approvals, I always want to, not only do I want to make sure that, their people are approved and still searching with them, but I also want to ask them questions like, hey, Shayla, I sent you over the pre-approval for 450. Does 450 work for you? Is that in line with what you're talking about? Here's what the client told me. Do you want us to push it higher? Like the last thing I want is her to get a pre-approval, think, 450 doesn't work. Met with somebody like me and says, I'm going to give him a second opinion to this so-and-so. It's going to shoot for 500 because I never asked a question. Like you use those calls to program them. And I use that as sales opportunity to say, hey, by the way, if you ever run into a scenario like this, I know 450 works on this file, but hey, Shayla, next time you run into a scenario where you need a higher purchase price on one of your borrowers that's approved with somebody else, let us know. I'd love to give them a second opinion. Like, yep. Same thing as leads. Hey, Shayla, I know I've called this lead for a year for you, and I know they're not picking up, and that's no reflection on you. There was somebody that came through your open house. But next time you have a lead that you need extra follow-up on, or if there's any leads that your other lenders let's go stop following up on, let us know. I'd love to follow up on them for you. I said that to one agent that we started working with, and like after a few months of working with her, and she's like, oh my gosh, your lead follow-up on your team is insane. I'm going to send you a list of all the clients I sent to other lenders, and you could just follow up on them and tell them I sent them your way and see if you get pre-approved them. Like, I'd love for you to follow up. And we got the list, and we as a team, we just attacked it. We had a script, and we landed a couple deals based on that. She literally took them from the other lenders because their other lenders stopped even bringing them up and talking about them.
Yep.
And in her mind now, we're programmed in as if you want your leads followed up on, you send them to that team, right? It's Goto Conversation. It's like we have nothing to talk about. I'll bring up random stuff like, for example, I'll be like, hey, Shayla, I was at this one conference. I had to share this with you. It's a great, it's a great sales tactic, and I know that you're all about getting leads, converting deals. And I say that to everybody. Like, you're in sales. Like, some people are like, how do you know that they're about converting leads? They're a salesperson. Like, if they're not about converting leads, then like even if you said that, it won't make any difference in your life, right? So I'm like, I know you're all about tactics, how to convert leads and get more appointments. So here's the thing, super simple tactic. I have to share this with you. Did you know if you call somebody and they don't pick up the phone, you call back right away? Most people let first call go to voicemail, and then you have a 72% chance of them picking up on the second call because they feel like it's urgent. Oh, no, I didn't. Hey, have you ever had that happen where somebody calls you twice in a row and you're all like, yeah, I did. Well, that's why. So like, listen, it's super simple tactic. We're utilizing in our team right now, just letting you know. So anybody you send us, our goal is always talk to them on the phone, get them on the phone as soon as possible. That's something that we're utilizing. Just want to share that with you. By the way, how's your week going? Is there anything we can do for you? Like, that's a simple go-to conversation. If you had that on Monday, right? And you're blasting through lead deal, and then somebody pops up and you have nothing to talk about. Most people are like, next. I'm like, let it ring, boom, go-to conversation, and I just go. Like, that's my default conversation to keep the calls going. Underwriting guideline change, same thing. Hey, did you know that this happened with self-employed borrowers? This is going to affect this and this date. I want you to know that because I know that occasionally you work with self-employed borrowers, right? Like, occasionally everybody works with self-employed borrowers, right? I know you work with them from time to time. And as a listing agent, you get borrowers that send you contracts. Next time you see one self-employed, you got to ask this question. If you don't ask this question, this might be the difference in the deal closing or not. I just want to share this with you so you can protect yourself. All right, cool. If there's anything we can do for you this week, let us know. That's a go-to conversation, right? So it's about having a convo, and it's like, why does it matter to them? right? Like if you can't answer why it matters to them, you're a bad salesperson. Like you can't call them up and say, this is the underwriting guideline change I wanted you to know. They're like, okay, great. I wanted you to know because next time you run into a self-employed borrower and they have this, and if they were pre-approved before this time, you need to ask this question. Next time you see a listing, if they're pre-approved, ask this question. Make sure that LO, because I want to make sure I protect you. That's why it matters to them, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Like when you're with the go-to conversation, get the topic. Why does it matter to them? And that's what you talk to. Now, is it possible sometimes I talk about a lead and jump to go-to conversation? Yes, absolutely. But the point is I don't try to do that. I'm trying to hit all the boxes. Like so, and then the last week's invite. And it's very simple. Like sometimes I'll be calling somebody and it's a realtor we've been working with together for a very long time. We haven't gotten any recent leads or pre-approvals where I'm just like, hey, Shayla, it's been forever and a day. We got to grab lunch together. I thought, you came up on my mind again today. And I told myself next time Shayla comes up to my mind, I'm like, go grab lunch with her. Like, when can we get something on the calendar? I know you're busy. Oh, next week's busy. I knew next week would be busy for you. What about the following week? No, the following week you're out of the country. No worries. What about the week after that? Let's just get something on the calendar. That way it's there, and we could always change it later. Like I'm always about if it's a lunch, dinner, happy hour. It's not yeah, we should send me a couple dates. It's let's get something on the calendar, and I'll remind you before then. And that's the awesome. Fourth box. So every time I call, it's one of those boxes that I'm trying to check. Or it might be multiple, but at the very least, if I have nothing to talk to them about, it's the go-to conversation. Like we have this, I'm sure you guys do it too. Everybody's doing it. The refi pledge, or if you buy a home, you get the free refi. Dude, that's the greatest go-to conversation in the world. Like it's just right when that got announced, guess what I talked about that Monday? That. And guess what I followed up with? A text to them that explains it with my flyer. Because I said, hey, I'm going to text you this, Shayla. So when you're running across somebody or you see an borrower to open house, that way you have it for, ready and on hand. That's where you go. Like people are like, how do you come up with go-to conversations? They're all around you. You just have to be, and you can't take one from a year ago and use it. It's not going to, you have to just constantly be thinking go-to conversation. What's my go-to conversation going to be? And just roll with that.
Oleg. Damn, that was amazing. Mic drop. Thank you so much. Guys, this is recorded. There's so many nuggets and scripts and everything in here. Oleg, you are an incredible shining example of living this and doing it consistently year over year over year over year. I do think if there is a GOAT in the running, that is you, sir. So I would love to see you do that. I personally miss you. I miss everything about you. I would love to spend some more time. So if there's anything I could do for you and your team or your market or just run into you somewhere, I'd love to do that. Guys, thank you all for being here. I know several people are going to watch this on recording. The question is, are you going to execute? Are you going to sit here for an hour and go, oh, that was interesting. There's 4 levels. Oh, there's programming. Oh, there's, all the motivations. Or are you going to write down a couple things and go execute? And I will tell you the difference is Oleg has been at the same conferences as the other 380 core loan officers. He's hearing the same content. He's attending the same classes, and he's staying in learning mode and constantly going, how can I get 1% better? How can I actually take that and implement it into my conversation today? How am I going to use this today? And so I hope you've all found something that you can use today and that you will implement and execute. That will be the difference in getting your plans and goals achieved. Oleg, thank you so much. We'll let you run, be on time.
Yep.
You're the best.
See you guys all later. Bye,
We miss you. See you, buddy.